everyone. This video is going to show you how to make floating buildings. Now I'm going to warn you, this is considered an exploit. So I don't suggest doing this unless you're either bored and have a lot of materials, or you just want something fun and exciting to do. So with that aside, let's get started. In the regular game, you're going to need a total of 6,000 forged iron to make 600 metal ladders. I wouldn't suggest doing it with wooden ladders as they fall down really easily. And you're going to also need 4,480 wood if you're going to be using wood. Now this works with concrete and steel as well, but I'm going to do it with wood just to show you the concept. So you're going to need 32 frames for the bottom, which you will get back, and 448 of whichever block you want to be floating in the air. And if you want to put a ladder inside of it, you're going to need 28 or so more of those two. And then you're also going to need 8 or 9 more wood frames, depending on how you want to do the roof. Extras are always good to have in case you mess up. And also if you want to add more floors, as once the building is floating, it is next to impossible to add any more things to it. So that building that I just showed you there was done under normal circumstances, using wood frames and using the nail gun to turn it into old wood, as the block is called. So this design that I'm going to show you is the smaller version of that one, which I showed in my previous video, and it's 5 by 5. So 5 blocks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And a lot of things must be taken into consideration when building something like this. It is very hard to pull off even in a cheat world, let alone the regular world. Now, I imagine the size of the building, so if this were 10 by 10 like that one is, you would be able to remove more of the bottom blocks. However, when it's 5 by 5, you can only take out 2 layers from the bottom of the building. And that'll be important once we're done the building. So once you have 2 high of your wood frames, if you're doing this in the regular world, you would want to just continue with wood frames. I would upgrade the 3rd row so that way you know where you're working. And in a regular world, I would probably surround this with hay bales, or you could just use the jumping up and placing a block trick. So once you have 3 there, you're going to want to count up to 30. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30. So, once you have 1 pillar, you know exactly how high you have to go for the rest. You just want to make the entire structure that height. And once you have every block up to 30, so basically if it was the regular game, you would just fill it with wood frames and then use your repair tool, whichever one that may be, and fill it in with wood. So once you have it all the way up to 30 on every single block, you're going to need 600 ladders And this part is crucial. Every single block needs a ladder, including the wood frames at the bottom. Otherwise, your entire structure will collapse. Now, I just like to do the wood frames first. That way I know they are done, as it's kind of difficult to see the metal ladders on them. So once you've filled every single side with ladders, including the wood frames at the bottom, then there's a secret ingredient that goes into making a floating structure. Now you can use forges, campfires, or chests. I believe that it's any object that you can interact with. But those are the only three that I've tested out, and they all work. So I wouldn't suggest anything else unless you're testing it yourself. And what you want to do is place either the campfire, forge, or chest all along the second to last block. Anywhere where you want blocks to be that you can stand on and won't fall. So once you've done that, then you can use either wood frames, or I've tested with wood as well, like this regular wood here. So I believe any block will work here, but those are the only two that I've tested. So once you have it set up like that, you can start making it float. Now, for this to work, it has to be done a very precise way. So you start off by destroying the bottom layer of ladders and picking up the wood frames. Now the only way I've gotten this to work is to make sure you grab all the wood frames before you destroy the last set of ladders. I think the last block you destroy or remove has to be a ladder. Now normally, this wouldn't happen. But as we can see here, we now have a floating structure. And I can take off one more layer. It will still float. However, if I were to try and take off the third layer, with this design here, it would fall. I think the size has something to do with it, because that one's 10 by 10 and I was able to remove a lot of blocks, where you can only take 2 off of ones that are 5 by 5. So now, to prove that you can walk on it, I can do whatever I want up here. I can even add blocks on top. But as soon as I were to try and place a block on the side, it falls down. And that goes for anywhere on this structure. So once a building is floating, you cannot add any blocks to the sides of the building. But you can put blocks on top of whatever is floating. And the regular physics don't really apply to these kind of buildings either. Like, I can load it up with steel walls as far up as I want, and this thing will still float. Now, if you had to do any renovations or fixing up Like say you got a horde and a cop puked at your walls, then there is a way to fix it and do renovations. So you're going to want to shore it up at the bottom. Now, in order for this to float again, you need to put these ladders back on. Now let's say I wanted to add another floor to this. Like, I don't know, right here sounds good. Now you can also do this from the inside as well. I prefer to do it on the outside though. Now, I haven't done too much testing with this yet, so if you're going to do it from the inside, just remove 3/4 of the blocks of the wood frames. Take a few ladders out. And you can still have a floating structure. There's just one more thing I want to show you. Well, that. So, if your structure is more than one block farther from the ground, you want to start from the ground and work your way up if you want to add or repair anything on it. So just make sure that there's ladders everywhere. Now this is going to show you the importance of having a campfire or a forge or a chest on the bottom. And I could still climb this too. So this one is unsupported and will fall down if it doesn't have anything there. So I can remove 2 layers of blocks, and I can remove any amount underneath the building and it will be fine. Just remember that if you do need to add on to it and you build up, you're only going to be able to take away 2 blocks. So what you could do is shore it up at the bottom and act as if these were the ground, and then leave your 2 blocks up here. When you remove it, then you can remove all the blocks at the bottom. Now hopefully that made sense. So, with that in mind, I can add any number of blocks on these floors as long as it's on top of a block. As you can see, if I try and place it anywhere else, it's not going to work. But I can remove blocks and it will stay there for now. I wouldn't test that one out too much though. So you can add, chests, a forge, you can have whatever you want in here. And there's another little weird thing about this kind of structure. As soon as the block changes, it falls like that. Now, here I'm going to show you that you cannot remove more than 2 layers. Well, that's really odd because that never worked for me before. It must be the steel on the inside wall. I don't know. But normally you wouldn't be able to do that either. I think it has to be the steel on the inside. There we go. And that's why it's very important to build these a precise way. They don't always work as intended. In fact, they're not even supposed to work at all. So, here's a little test that I conducted on different materials. This was with forges before I knew that campfires worked. It worked with steel walls, but you gotta be careful because sometimes it's hard to see if the ladder is there. And it worked with concrete with multiple levels. And this was a test to see if you could fill in the entire thing. So you don't need that hole at the top. You can put a forge or campfire there and it will still work. And as I showed you in the very beginning, you can remove any amount from underneath it. Just be careful if you were to try and make any upgrades though, because you're only allowed about 2 levels of wood before the thing collapses. And thank you for watching. If you liked the video, press that like button and subscribe for more awesome tutorials daily. Bye bye.